We begin here in Israel, where tens of thousands of protesters are set to bring traffic to a standstill in several parts of the country. Several attempts to block roads already taking place across the country. As Israeli police say, they've arrested 4 demonstrators for suspicion of disorderly conduct, in the center of the country. Flights are also set to be delayed as demonstrators are taking a stand over the government's judicial reform plans, and they're attempting to even block Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's flight to Rome. Now, organizers say they're hoping to minimize the damage to travel, though they are trying to highlight their ability to shut down the economy. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir arriving to the airport to oversee the police presence there, and in Haifa, the port has been blocked by a flotilla also protesting against the government's reforms. Demonstrations already beginning, protesters breaking into the offices of the Klochendler Forum this morning. Now, that's the right-wing think tank that promoted the change in Israel's legal system. We have team coverage for you throughout the country. We've got our Pierre Klochendler live in Tel Aviv, our Owen Alterman at the airport. Pierre, we're going to start with you. You're there in the middle of these protests. A lot of people gathering behind you. Walk us through what you're hearing from these individuals and what we can expect later today.
Democracy, and they're only gearing up for that day of resistance. That's the way they call it, a day of resistance in the defense of democracy. I'm going to walk you through about 300 demonstrators right now that are gradually converging. There are many marches around Tel Aviv, and they're gradually converging to this spot in the center of Tel Aviv. And you can see there are people here that are doing a sitting. There is an old veteran from the Jewish underground movement during the days of the War of Independence, fought in 3 wars, was a paratrooper, and got wounded in the 1967-day war. Now, why am I talking about that? Because the driving force behind those demonstrations, and that's been since Benjamin Netanyahu has been indicted, is the elder society of Israel. The elder people are the driving motor, the driving engine of this demonstration. And you will see many people from different walks of life, but also some young people, less than elder Israelis. And that's something quite unique here, because these people have a knowledge of history, have a knowledge of the tribulations that this city has been going through, and as a result are calling for this day of resistance, the second one in 10 days. And the expectation is that it's going to be growing here because of different marches converging here now. Up until half an hour ago, already 15 people have been arrested by the police. That is invisible here. There's no police force here. But 15 people have been arrested. 10 in the area of Tel Aviv because people started blocking roads and interchanges, and that's obviously one of the things which could spill over in this demonstration. And
Pierre Klochendler live for us at the demonstration. We'll be sure to check back in with you throughout the day. Thank you so much. Let's cross now to I-24 News senior correspondent Owen Alterman live for us at the airport. Owen, protesters hoping to block Benjamin Netanyahu and his convoy from reaching their flight. Walk us through what you're seeing there at the airport and what you're hearing from protest organizers at this hour.
Right, Hamid. Well, that's not about to happen. I don't think anyone expects that Netanyahu won't actually take off for Italy. That said, of course, most of the action up over the course of the morning, as you've just heard from Pierre, has been on the streets of Tel Aviv, frankly, in streets and roadblocks around the country. But that is definitely changing. Protesters are gathering here. We've heard reports that protesters have even been able to block the entrance to the other terminal here at this airport, Terminal 3. In the meantime, hundreds of protesters expected here. A few moments ago, we spoke with one of them. Here's what she had to say.
We
came to the airport to accompany King Bibi and Queen Sarah to their weekend. Although they will arrive like kings in a helicopter, the entourage of 60 people they took for the weekend in Rome will probably have a bit of a hard time. They will see that we are here and we are not giving up.
לוויקנד ברומא.
And when the National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir arriving at the airport to oversee the police activity around the protests, police also saying they're going to give fines to people slowing down traffic. Talk us through what police are preparing for today and what kind of measures we can expect.
Right, we've also, by the way, heard reports that police are handing out those tickets as we speak. 500 Israeli shekels, about 150 US dollars. We'll have to see what that does. But of course, Ben-Gvir is as controversial a figure as ever. Just a quick note on timing and schedule. Prime Minister Netanyahu's flight has reportedly been delayed until 2 o'clock local time, 3 hours from now, takeoff to Italy. We also have at 1 o'clock local time, 2 hours from now, a meeting that Netanyahu will hold with, believe it or not, visiting of all days, visiting Defense Secretary from the United States, Lloyd Austin, also expected to meet with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Obviously, these protests, to say the least, not targeted against Austin. He's a bit of an innocent bystander here, changing his plans to accommodate the reality of the protests, holding his meetings here at the airport rather than in Tel Aviv Hamda in the middle of the big mess.
I-24 News senior correspondent Owen Alterman live for us at Ben Gurion Airport. Thank you. Let's bring in Professor Talya Miron-Shatz. She's the founding director of the Center for Medical Decision Making at Ono Academic College and a visiting researcher at Cambridge University and also a protester herself. Thank you so much for joining us. I want you to talk to us about what's led you to take to the streets in recent weeks in these anti-government demonstrations.
Demonstrations are here and here to stay and only increasing as people are realizing what's happening to our country. So this morning, as you showed before, the Kohelet Forum offices were blocked. 2 protesters were arrested. One of them used to be the commander of entry into Sayeret Matkal. These are not terrorists. We are not terrorists. We are not anarchists. We're people who are deeply involved with this country. People behind me screaming, Demokratia, democracy. That's a cry for democracy. So we're blocking the circle, saying, Lochamim b'matzar, warriors are arrested. Sobrim et hakikar, we're closing the circle. It's civil protest. It's being done in a civilized way, but it's very, very, very determined. That's the message I want to send out. The more, I want to say something else. This isn't a whim. This isn't about some tiny, hair-splitting legal issues. This is about the economy of Israel that is tanking. This is about our security that is tanking as warriors are saying we will not serve under this country. We will not serve under people who disrespect us. This is also political, and you know that. People who watch you realize that Israel's support is dwindling in the world. It's very sad. This is bringing Churban. This is bringing this government, this legislation, rushed, determined to ruin whatever comes across its path, is ruining Israel's democracy and ruining Israel. This is why we are here. This is why I left home, rushed here. I had other things to do. Trust me. I'm a professor of medical decision making, but this is war. This is war for our home, and I'm fighting.
Talya, I've got about 30 seconds left, but there are reports of compromise and that the coalition is willing to work with the opposition. What do you think about that?
I think it's a sham. It's a sham. If the coalition is in the middle of running over democracy and is getting people to say, let's talk, this is a lie. It's one big sham. You want to talk to me? Don't run me over. And as we're standing with your wheels over my stomach, approaching my heart, say, let's talk, but I'll keep on running you over. That's what I think about the compromise. It's no compromise. It's a lie. It's intended to stop protests, and talk about it. It started Sunday night before the first Monday protest.
Professor Talya Miron-Shatz joining us live from the protest. Thank you so much.